type 1 diabetes can be living in anyone. It comes in all shapes, sizes, different colors, forms.
Type 1 diabetes is when your pancreas doesn't produce insulin. It's not caused by your diet, it's not caused by anything you did. Type 1 diabetes can be very serious.
I ended up in the hospital for some 2 weeks.
I live with fear for myself. My biggest fear with T1D today, this disease will probably be what kills me. It's not always predictable. It's constant worry.
Friends, family, pushing me every day to be strong. That's what helps me get along.
I do have a lot of highs and a lot of lows. It's not easy to explain. It's not easy to just take out my meter and check my sugar in front of everyone.
I think my biggest accomplishment is probably getting used to all the shots and finger sticks.
Prick my finger a lot. Prick my finger every time I check my blood, and that's over 8-10 times a day.
And it's an everyday thing that we have to do to live in the world and survive.
It is so frustrating that there are so many misconceptions about T1D, and people think that it's not a constant struggle, but it is.
My biggest dream definitely is to find a cure.
My dream for T1D is to have no diabetes when I go to college.
There will be a cure for this. I don't know that I believed that when I was first diagnosed, and I think we're close. We just need to keep that momentum going.
Learn more about type 1 diabetes.
Help JDRF find a cure. T1D looks like me.
T1D looks like me.
T1D looks like me.
These amazing teens know what it's like to have type 1 diabetes. Check out what they had to say.
When they first told us, it was me, my mom, and my dad in the doctor's office. And he comes in the room and says, well, your son has diabetes, type 1 diabetes. And I just froze, and I was surprised, but I kind of knew, but I was still surprised. So my dad looked at me and said, it'll be okay, we'll get through this together, and I felt a lot better.
I personally didn't know anything. My mom knew about it, but nothing much more than that. My grandmother is type 2, but that's obviously very different than type 1.
I was diagnosed when I was 18 months, so I don't remember a life without diabetes.
They always told me that it was something that's always really important.
When the doctor diagnosed me, I thought everything was over. I thought I couldn't do any more sports. I couldn't eat anything delicious. So I just thought that everything, I couldn't do anything else, but that's all different.
Type 1 diabetes is where your pancreas doesn't produce insulin.
Without insulin, you'd have no energy.
And therefore you need to check your blood sugars and take insulin. And either eat food or take more insulin depending on if your blood sugar is low or low.
Produces insulin. And most people don't even know it's there. But you can't live without insulin.
I would say that my life changed dramatically after I was diagnosed.
There's always, in the back of my mind, like, oh, I have to test my blood sugar before I do an activity.
For me, the hardest part of having type 1 diabetes is just remembering to bolus and remembering to test. Because I'm busy with homework, sports, hanging out with my friends, and I'm just like, oh God, I forgot to bolus.
The hardest part of having type 1 diabetes is managing low blood sugars and high blood sugars.
Sometimes I feel really overwhelmed when my blood sugars have just been high all day, and I can't get them down, and I'm high before I go to sleep, and I'm high when I wake up, and I just get so frustrated, and sometimes I don't know what to do, and I just talk to someone else, feel much better. We can call teacher needs to she needs to accept that I have diabetes.
I try and tell everyone I come in contact with about my diabetes. I know that it can change and something can turn for the worse at any moment. So therefore, if I'm with someone, even if it's for an hour or two, I think it's important for them to know about the fact that I have diabetes. And although they may not know everything about diabetes, they will know to call for help if something does happen.
It definitely started out much harder, and it gradually got easier because I know exactly what I'm doing now.
The hardest part of diabetes is probably the social part about it.
It's important to tell your boyfriend or girlfriend, especially because if you're going to be spending so much time with them, they need to know if something's going to happen, what to do.
Yeah, I'm interested in girls. I've had a girlfriend before.
For me personally, it hasn't been awkward at all because I'll just be checking my blood sugar or, taking insulin, and it's just a part of who I am. Therefore, if they're going to accept you for who you are, they have to accept that too.
Some kids, they just don't understand what type of diabetes is.
Diabetes means that you just have to take insulin for what you need and check your blood sugar beforehand and after.
I want people to know that type 1 diabetes is a serious disease, and it does take a lot of effort from the person who has it and people around them to control it.
There's nothing I can do. It's just the same thing.
Good things have come out of diabetes. I've had opportunities of a lifetime that have come about. I'm more in tune to my body. I feel healthier than most kids. And I'm also made tons of friends because of diabetes.
There's been a lot of good things. I met some really good friends through JDRF and different diabetes events.
Yeah, I do feel a special bond with kids who have type 1 diabetes because we go through the same things, and I can always talk to them about, things that I couldn't talk to my friends with.
To anybody who's newly diagnosed with diabetes, especially a teenager, I would say, it's not the end of the world, and it's something you have to take care of, but you're gonna live. I know it's gonna be tough in the beginning, but you'll make it, and try to, do the best you can, because it's gonna affect you your whole life.
It's getting a lot easier now that I'm older because I do have more control and more knowledge, and I manage things all myself now.
The transition to college was definitely difficult. I'm still transitioning. Personally, I've taken care of my diabetes by myself, changing my sites, checking my blood sugar since I was 6 years old, and giving myself my own shots. I know how to do everything on my own. But it was definitely challenging to make sure that I do have the necessary supplies since I'm not living at home.
It makes you learn more about yourself and what you're really capable of.
It is important to keep a good line of connection with my endocrinologist because she can always give me advice on what I'm doing wrong, maybe I'm eating the wrong things or not bolusing enough.
Driving with diabetes is definitely a challenge. It's not the biggest challenge I think we have to face as diabetics, but definitely I have to check my blood sugar before I get in the car. If I need to pull over to have a juice, I always have to have juice in the car. Check my blood sugar if I don't feel well. Most important, when I get to my destination, check my blood sugar to make sure that I haven't dropped or that I haven't stopped.
I know that I really can't be a drinker. I can't drink alcohol because it screws up my blood sugars.
I personally don't drink, but I do know people who have diabetes that either do drink or have drank in the past. And I know that the effects make your blood sugar go low. For some people, it can make them go high. And when you do drink, you have to be extremely careful with your diabetes.
I keep juice boxes, snacks, tablets, quick sugar with me handy at all times because I can go low anywhere. It's not like I only go low when I'm in the nurse's office or when I'm at home.
I hope to become a doctor. And I think that helping others and giving back to the community is something that's the most precious thing you could have.
I do a lot of sports. This year, I just did volleyball, and I'm going to do basketball, rugby, and I've been doing kickboxing and yoga for 3 years now.
I've been to the Junior Olympics 3 or 4 times, and I've medaled in 2 events, the hurdles and the 100.
Being part of with JDRF because the people there are always friendly and welcoming, they're knowledgeable, and usually the people involved with JDRF, even the volunteers, have the people and everyone's best interest at heart.
I like being part of JDRF because so many people get involved.
Each year, JDRF has a walk, and that brings us a step closer to finding a cure.
If I'm helping raise money for a cure or a better way to treat diabetes, I feel like I'm helping a lot of people, including myself.
They're totally like me, and probably like you too. We're all dealing with a lot of issues other teens don't, and it helps to know we're not the only ones. Together with JDRF, we'll create a world without type 1 diabetes.
My greatest supporter is probably my sister Reese. She knows what I'm going through.
We check our blood sugar together, we take our insulin together.
My biggest supporter is probably my brother.
My greatest supporter is my husband. He's been with me for 38 years.
My grandson has T1D, and he could teach me a thing or two.
He's just had it a long time, so I know that great things are going to come.
T1D looks like me.
T1D looks like me.
T1D looks like me.
I'm type 1 diabetic, and this is a day in my life. Time to check my blood.
give people an insight into diabetes and what actually goes on day to day. So we're kind of spending a day in the life with Kian, really. I researched it last night, and the charity that we helped, which is JDRF, for every £60 that you raise, they fund 1 hour of research. So we raised about 26 hours of research into diabetes and to find a cure last time. So we're kind of on that mission again, really. The first stop that we're going to today is football. So Kian and his brother both do football training every week. And then I think they're going swimming, and then we'll go for lunch and stuff like that. So well, let's find them playing football.
It's a 24/7 job, and Kian's sugar levels need to be checked throughout the day. Within a couple of minutes of us turning up, and in the middle of his football match, Kian has a feeling that his blood sugar levels are dropping. Luckily, Kian's at an age where he can notice the signs of what the medical industry call a hypo. This is when the blood sugar levels are dangerously low. Ideally, a reading between 5 to 8 would be considered safe. Kian's levels are reading 2.7.
Tell me, you got some links right there, please.
going in the right direction. What do you reckon you're going to be? So we had 2.7, 3.2, 2.7, 3.2, now we are 4.9!
After a 10-minute break, his sugars are back to where they need to be, and Kean can go and enjoy the game.
Going a little bit longer, got the pump off, so hopefully it's just 5 minutes left. So, God, you can miss the last 5.
Diabetes in children inevitably affects the whole family. Kean's older brother Conrod is really supportive. Later, but basically, your sugar level should be 258. Yeah? And he's at 32. And sometimes the sugar doesn't even give you a reading, it just says hot. So what do you do in that case? Do you go with him? Do you stay at home?
Yeah. Any time he's the general school, I go round to my nan's house. Once when I was
when you're looking from the outside, it's really crazy what he goes through. For me as well, when I start doing this and start editing the documentary and stuff, that's when you do sit there and realise actually, when it's in a short video, you realise what he's going through and how much they have to do behind closed doors. Right, I'll meet you at the entrance.
The next stop is swimming. Kean's insulin is fed to him through an electronic pump, which is attached to his body. For some diabetics, this is preferred over injecting. They must remove the pump before he goes swimming. There's lots of different factors that can affect our blood sugar levels, from excitement, worry, physical exercise, any illness we may be going through, and obviously the food we eat. Straight after swimming, we need to check that Kean's levels are giving a safe reading. Luckily this time, it's a fairly straightforward check.
That was really quick and easy. Went swimming, came out, then attached the pump again, tested the sugars, he's 10 something, so that's kind of perfect where it needs to be. He's asking for sweets, so 7-year-old words, but we're going to hold off on sweets, go do lunch, and we need to test it.
Next stop is lunch. Kean chose to come in my car, but it's very important to have the diabetes bag on board, just in case. Whilst the kids play, I get a chance to have a chat with Chris and Sam.
They do little food tasting in school, which they obviously don't know what the carbs are, so they can get involved.
And that really upset him to this week.
What was it like? Can you remember before he had diabetes? Or is it just... Don't you know?
He doesn't remember what it was like before. He says he's felt like he's always had
That's what
it.
you would do, right?
But I remember.
No, I don't remember. It was strange the other day, Conrod, at a football tournament.
Yeah.
It was so funny going to this tournament, but Kean was at school and not having to worry about
The bag, blood sugars.
stuff and make sure that his levels are okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It has become routine, but I can remember what it's like to sit up at a table
Yeah, that's
and
right.
have a dinner. And,
It's kind of like, I don't know, like abnormal. And everyone on the phone goes, my aunt's usually
there's certain places I can't go because I've got anxiety.
or if Sam goes shopping and she knows in that shop that there's no phone signal in there, she'll ring you before she goes in there, make sure you've got signal. You'll call you get phone. So no, it's always like that.
Even at night time.
Before Kean can tuck in, Chris and Sam check the car park
So chilled.
This is the needle.
You can see it.
Hold it still for me.
So, Kian seems to get some enjoyment out of pricking my finger and testing my sugars. This is probably because I'm a big baby.
No, getting it down.
I can put it on a bit higher if you really want.
No, I haven't washed my hands.
You don't need to wash your hands because he doesn't have to have it because he does. You don't want to be
High reading, you're Uncle Jack.
Right, I'm ready.
Make good footage.
Please don't hurt me. Can you count down?
Right, yeah.
Ready?
5.
Wait there.
5. 4.
Right.
Make the dog jump.
There we go. Oh, that one too.
No, just look it.
Well, let it dry. Right, what am I?
5.8 is my result. That's a good reading.
At my home, I've got some plates, bowls, some cereal. What have you got going on in yours?
Compared to when Kian was just 4 years old, listening to him talk us through his medication now is completely different. I believe that he's now starting to understand just how important some of this emergency medication is. Still, it's difficult to see and hear. I believe that all children deserve a carefree upbringing, so it's difficult to hear and see Kian talking us through this medication. Somewhat easier for anybody dealing with type 1 diabetes. Kian's pump was a huge step from daily injections. It even sends data to the hospital so that they can check his sugar levels remotely. Before bedtime, again, Sam and Chris will check Kian's levels and constantly monitor him throughout the evening. Even for me, it's been a long day of ups and downs. It's finally ready for bed.
Tonight is we're going to leave a camera in your room while you're sleeping. Yeah, and we'll see what happens throughout the night and see what.
Not for Sam and Chris though. Regular checks throughout the night means that they'll take it in turns until Kian's old enough to check him and make sure that while he's fast asleep, he's safe.
So what would the cure mean to you? What would it be? Would it be all your wildest wishes?
Everything to me.
Please visit my Just Giving page, justgiving.com/Jack-White. Thank you to Chris, Sam, Connor and Kian. And a huge thank you to my good friend, Luke A, for helping me put this project together. Please help young people with type 1 diabetes, and together we'll take steps to find a cure.
Got the news today. Doctor said I had to stay a little bit longer and I'll be fine. When I thought it all been done, when I thought it all been said, a little bit longer and I'll be fine. But don't know what you got till it's gone. Don't know what it's like to feel so low. And every time you smile, you laugh tears for you. Through the years, through the pain, times of heartache, times of change. I'll be your sun, you'll be my rain. If I ever let you down, I didn't mean to do that. If you need me and I'm not around, I'm sorry for that. Sometimes life is strange. Some days it pulls me away from you. And on my soul I swear, for you I will be there to give you love, give you strength, get you through your darkest days. When you cry, I'll dry those tears for you. Through the years, through the pain, times of heartache, times of change. I'll be your sun, you'll be my rain. Flesh, you on my blood, and I will always stand by you. I will. And should the sun go down, give me your hand, I'll pull you through. I will. You know I'll be the one to give you love, give you strength, get you through your darkest days. When you breathe, I'll be the air for you. Through the years, through the pain, times of heartache, times of change. I'll be your sun, you'll be mine. Give you love, give you strength, get you through your darkest days. When you cry, I'll dry those tears for you. Through the years, through the pain, times of heartache, times of change. I'll be your sun, you'll be my rain. Get on my elevator, baby, we're going up. Give me that now and later, I can't get enough. So much to discover, please don't stop me now. Every time I touch it, they're right off the ground. Let them go, all the ones trying to get in the door. I'ma go where they all couldn't go. Up a flow, up a flow, up a flow. I know we can get higher. There's levels to your love, yeah, there's levels to your love. And I know we can get higher. There's levels to your love, and I keep on climbing up. Walking upon the ceiling, dancing upon the wall. You and that drug you're dealing should be against the law. All this heat keep rising, make you stop, drop, and roll. I'm bottling up that lightning, supernatural. Let them go, all the ones trying to get in the door. I'ma go where they all couldn't go. Up a flow, up a flow, up a flow. I know we can get higher. There's levels to your love, yeah, there's levels to your love. And I know we can get higher. There's levels to your love, and I keep on climbing up. Rooftop. I've been standing where you left me, praying that you come and get me. But now I found my second wind. Now I found my second skin. Well, I know what you were thinking. You thought you'd watch me fade away when you broke me into pieces. But I gave each piece a name. One of me is wiser. One of me is stronger. One of me's a fighter. And there's 1,000 faces of me. And we're gonna rise up. Yeah, we're gonna rise up. For every time you wrong me, well, you're gonna face it on me. Army of me. Welcome to my revolution. Ha. All your walls are breaking down. Each time you had a taste of losing. Ha. Time the tables turned around. I see a glimpse of recognition, but it's too little, it's too late, it's too late. And what you thought was your best decision just became your worst mistake. One of me is wiser. One of me is stronger. One of me's a fighter. And there's 1,000 faces of me. And we're gonna rise up. Yeah, we're gonna rise up. For every time you wrong me, you're gonna face it on me. Army of me. So how does it feel to know that I beat you, that I can defeat you? Oh, how does it feel? 'Cause it sure feels sweeter. It sure feels sweeter to me. Now that I'm wiser, now that I'm stronger, now that I'm a fighter, there's 1,000 faces of me, and I'm gonna rise, I'm gonna rise up, I'm gonna
Hey, Dr. Berg here. In this video, we're going to talk about blood sugars. Okay? Very, very, very important, yet very misunderstood. If you have diabetes, if you have hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar, if you're concerned about preventing those, you want to watch this video. Now, here's how it works. The law of the body is that no matter what, the body must maintain a certain level of sugar in the blood. Okay, so the blood sugar level, we'll call it glucose level, should always be right around 100. Now, if you want to know the units, I think it's milligrams per deciliter, but don't worry about that. But there's blood testing units that you can test your blood, and it should be right here. Now, it does range between 80 and 110, but if that blood sugar goes too high, okay, that's called hyperglycemia. That means that's diabetes. Okay, if the blood sugar is too low, that is called hypoglycemia. Okay, so the goal for the body is to maintain blood sugar of 100. So it'll do everything. It'll tear the body apart. It'll break down your muscle protein. With one goal is to maintain normal blood sugar. So almost everything you eat eventually breaks down into glucose or sugar. Okay, even foods that are not sugar, even protein and fat will break down, and then you're going to build it. The body will build it back up into sugar. So sugar is used for fuel and nourishment to the cells. So the way it works is this. You have this huge organ here called the liver. The liver is on the right side of your body. It's about 3.5 pounds, the size of a football. And then we have this tiny organ right here, which is called the pancreas. And that's right right here, right below the left rib cage. Now, these two organs reciprocate, and what I mean by that is they have a mutual relationship. They coordinate. They kind of control the blood sugars, okay? But the liver is the most ignored piece of the puzzle in diabetes, which we'll get into, simply because here's how it works. The liver controls blood sugar when you're not eating. And the pancreas controls blood sugars when you eat. All right, and they go back and forth and back and forth. So what the pancreas does is it makes a hormone. It's called insulin. And basically what it does is it gets the sugar out of the blood. Okay, so it takes it out. It reduces blood sugar. Okay, so there's hormones that lower that sugar. All right, that's when you're eating, because you just ate and you're flooding the blood with sugar. Even if you don't eat sugar, because everything is sugar. Now, when you're not eating, you need to kind of raise the sugar. So your liver will put sugar into blood. So it goes in. All right. So it does it through a hormone that's very similar to insulin, but does the opposite. They call that insulin-like growth factor. For that is glycogen. That's basically a bunch of sugars that's stored in the body so you can use it fast, okay? And it also gets it from fat, all right? So those are the two sources that you're tapping into. So obviously that's the goal, is to be able to lose fat or tap into fat, but that's the purpose of fat, is to act as a storage so you can use it when you're not eating, okay, or starving, or exercising, or fasting, those things. So the liver basically takes that fat and it converts it into sugar, and it puts all the sugar back in the blood to keep that 100. But first it goes after the stored sugar. So this is number 1, and this is number 2. So in the presence of any stored sugar or any sugar at all, this fat will not be used at all. The body does not like to burn fat in normal situations unless there's no sugar. So the way it works is regulate sugar, pull sugar out, eating, and not eating. The liver starts to get in there, sugar back in, starts to take the storage, and starts to get back to the sugar at 100. Now let's talk about what happens when sugar is pulled out of the blood. Then it's not converted to fat. Okay, so I'd rather have stored sugar than fat, right? Because stored sugar is just going to use for energy, but we don't want too much. So there's a certain amount of sugar that's stored in the body. But in order to store this sugar right here, what happens is that you need potassium. Right? Without potassium, you can't store sugar. So for every sugar little molecule, you need 1 potassium molecule, like that. So potassium is like the glue to hold the sugar together. So with low potassium levels, the person will start craving sugar. Why? Because they can't store sugar, so they crave sugar. Why? Because the sugar's going down and the body's telling you, give me that sugar. So the symptom of cravings means your body has low blood sugar and it's really low potassium. So what happens when people crave sugar? They go eat sugar, right? What they should consume is potassium. is a condition where your body has no longer been able to regulate the sugar in here. And it comes from consuming, obviously, too much sugar. That's the most common cause. But here's the thing. Diabetes type 2 is a less serious diabetes. Type 1 is a more serious type of diabetes. So type 2 is really a problem with the liver because what happens is they take a drug called glucophage, or another name for metformin. What all that does is it makes the cells in the liver more receptive for receiving more insulin. So they work on the receptors. Receptors, so they increase the conductivity. So each receptor in the liver for insulin becomes magnified. Let's say you have a bunch of marketing people call your house over and over and over every day for a year. You're not going to pick up anymore, okay? You're not going to keep picking up every time they call. You're going to be a bit resistant to that communication. So that's what diabetes type 2 is. Being very resistant to insulin, and then they take this drug called glucophage. It basically makes it more, picks up the phone a lot more. So then now we can receive that instant communication and thus lower the blood sugar. Okay? So diabetes medication lowers the blood sugar. So usually because these diabetes, it's a high sugar state. And the problem is that if you ever have a low blood sugar and you take these medications, it's going to make it worse because you're going to go even lower. So you don't want to take medication if it's too low or normal, only when it's too high. And the problem, when the blood sugar goes low, many times people are taking sugar pills, which basically make the problem worse because now you're going to spike the insulin too high. We're trying to avoid that situation. Now, type 1 diabetes is not a liver problem. It's a long-term chronic problem of the pancreas. Now the cells of the pancreas that make insulin are exhausted. And they pretty much just stop working. So therefore no insulin is being produced. Therefore the sugar goes higher and higher and higher. And so then now they need insulin injections to lower the sugar. And they have to keep taking it day and day at a time with these all sorts of things. So that is the difference between these two. Type 2 is liver, and one is the pancreas problem. This is worse because now you don't make any insulin. Type 2, you do make insulin, but it doesn't work in the liver. So that's the relationship between the two. And then the real underlying cause, our bodies are not designed to consume 149 pounds of sugar per year. Our bodies are not designed to consume as much sugar as we need. And even baby food is loaded with high sugar. You have all this juice that the kids are fed. Sodas and all that made up of way too much sugar. And the cells just are not designed to take that and it puts it right into an exhausted state. So you have a lot of people going around with diabetes. But you need to understand where the source is. And so the next part I'm going to show you is information on that in a second. Okay, now check this out. We're talking about the liver and the pancreas and the hormone in the liver and the hormone in the pancreas. What's fascinating is that this hormone is 100 times bigger than insulin as far as quantity of hormone. In other words, the ratio is 100 to 1 as far as the work that's done. The majority of work on establishing blood sugars is done by the liver, yet very few people emphasize the importance of the liver and maintaining blood sugar. It is one of the most important things to keep healthy when you're trying to establish blood sugar. This is the performance work the liver does is 100 times bigger than what everyone's supposed to do. Now why? How did that happen? Why don't doctors know about this? Why don't they make more available? Because I found it. I looked at the units that we measure this hormone in the liver, the units are different off growth hormone. They're both almost identical in function. So growth hormone does a lot for regulating blood sugars. So we want to keep this high. And so let's say you're not eating a lot of sugar. Well, it could be that you're just getting older to the fact the liver's not receiving that growth hormone as much. So there are things you can do to improve it, but the fact that is the growth hormone that goes down, you have to be even better on your diet because you don't have the full capacity of that regulation of that liver function. See, growth hormone does three things. It burns fat because it really mobilizes fat for the blood sugars. It also helps you, it's anti-aging, and it protects your proteins. So it's called a protein spare hormone. And what that means is that it prevents your protein from breaking down into sugar and used for fuel. Okay, so it protects your protein. What protein? Collagen. So you avoid getting this, loose skin, sagging belly, all that. And also it protects your cartilage and collagen in your knees, in your shoulders, and these other joints. So it's a very important thing in protecting muscle protein breakdown that's occurring from the cortisol from the stress. Remember that cortisol hormone, which is very destructive on your cells when you go through a lot of stress, that will break down your muscle protein, especially in your thigh muscle and your leg. That's why you can't get your thigh muscle tone because you have too much of this destructive cortisol and not enough of that. So we're trying to reverse this process. So how do we do it? Number one, intense exercise is very good. That will be very important to keep growth hormone up. We're talking like short little tiny workouts, maybe 30 seconds, resting for 3 minutes, back and forth every day versus a treadmill. That will actually enhance growth hormone unless you're really, really stressed and you're not sleeping, you're going to have to walk. But eventually you want to work up to double digits. Sleeping. You need to sleep for 7 hours. And the next thing is you need to get your liver healthy. Everything comes back to that kale, doesn't it? We've talked about that in every single video, and kale is one of the superfoods to heal and protect your liver because the liver loves the bitter vegetables and it's low sugar and it has a lot of properties to restore liver function. And when you have that kale shake in the morning, the liver will improve and you'll get a lot of potassium and you'll get more growth hormone and you'll get less insulin and you'll crave less and you'll be able to maintain your age better and prevent the protein breakdown. And I've had lots of people improve their blood sugars by taking kale. So, I hope this video helped you understand some of the basics of blood sugars and apply this information, and I'll see you in the next video.
About 371 million people around the world have diabetes. 10% have type 1, just like me.
Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease affecting both children and adults. It is not lifestyle disease. It is not preventable. The cause is unknown, and currently there is no cure.
My name is Henry. I am 8 years old. I have type 1 diabetes. I was 5 years old when I was diagnosed with type 1. Type 1 means you have to take insulin to control your blood sugar. I was like, shot, poke, 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 poke. I feel lucky that I have insulin because there are people with diabetes that don't. Because if they don't have that stuff, they could like die. When I'm really low, my face turns purple, and I'm like a maniac. When you have type 1 diabetes, there's a lot of stuff to remember. Test strips, pricker, salts and pads, cards, skin tag, Unisol, necklace, insulin sugar, calorie, alcohol wise, CGM, PDF, insulin syringe, backpack, extra long, coat, clean underwear, Unisol, skin tag, my whole load.
Welcome to Beyond Type 1, a new brand of philanthropy, leveraging the power of social media and technology, creating and empowering a global Type 1 community. By providing education, support, and resources, Beyond Type 1 will bridge the gap from diagnosis to cure, allowing people to live well today while funding research for a better tomorrow.
Beyond Type 1 is home base for anything with Type 1. And people like me.
And me. Join us.
About 371 million people around the world have diabetes. 10% have Type 1, just like me.
Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease affecting both children and adults. It is not lifestyle disease. It is not preventable. The cause is unknown, and currently, there is no cure.
My name is Henry. I am 8 years old. I have Type 1 diabetes. I was 5 years old when I was diagnosed with Type 1. Type 1 means you have to take insulin to control your blood sugar. I was like, shot, 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 shot. Poke, 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 poke. I feel lucky that I have insulin because there are people with diabetes that don't. Because if they don't have that stuff, they could like die. When I'm really low, my face turns purple, and I'm like a maniac. When you have Type 1 diabetes, there's a lot of stuff to remember. Test strips, prickers, salts and pads, I have cards, skin tag, Unisol, necklace, insulin sugar, calorie alcohol wise, CGM, PDM, insulin syringe, backpack, extra card, coat, clean underwear, blanket, Unisol, skin tag, Am I all alone?
Welcome to Beyond Type 1, a new brand of philanthropy, leveraging the power of social media and technology, creating and empowering a global Type 1 community. By providing education, support, and resources, Beyond Type 1 will bridge the gap from diagnosis to cure, allowing people to live well today while funding research for a better tomorrow.
Beyond Type 1 is home base for anything related